We are here today at Malaika Honey Farm and we are going to harvest honey from a Langstroth beehive. The Langstroth beehive was invented by Reverend Lorenzo Lorraine Langstroth in 1851. He revolutionized beekeeping with his movable frame beehive design, and honey became a common product, whereas before it was difficult to produce. It was a prized item that people would give as a wedding gift. Now we can just go to the shops and buy it easily. Here in Uganda, we have African bees, Apis mellifera scatellata, who are more aggressive than European bees. We need to take special care not to make them angry and get a lot of stings. We smoke around the beehive first with some lemongrass before opening the beehive to calm them down and let them get used to our presence. We lift the lid and smoke a little inside. The Langstroth beehive is commonly made up of two boxes. A broad box down below where the queen bee lays all her eggs, and a super box up top where the worker bees go to store honey. As the colony grows bigger, you can add more super boxes up on top. After we have opened the hive and calmed the bees down, we use our hive tool to lift out frames and inspect them for honey. We are looking for frames with a lot of honeycomb with white cappings. This is the best honey. The hive we are working with here is made of condensed polystyrene foam, has very good insulation. This beehive requires much less work for the bee to cool, and their workload is significantly reduced. This allows a much larger percentage of the beehive's workforce to be dedicated to nectar and pollen foraging, resulting in higher honey yields. Thanks a lot to Australian honeybee business who gave us this beehive to try out here in Uganda.
See here on this comb, it's nearly fully capped. So it's about 3/4 capped, so you see the white cappings. So we might pick a nice couple from here.
When we have good honeycomb frames, we brush off the bees and put them into an empty box for harvesting. Now let's go and extract the honey. We take our honeycomb frames some distance away from the bees so they don't disturb us. First, we brush off the remaining bees, and using an uncapping fork, we lift off the white cappings, exposing the honey below. Once we have uncapped one side of the honeycomb, we place it in the extractor with uncapped honey facing out. Since we are using a 2-frame extractor, we uncap 2 frames before we start spinning. We then put the lid on the extractor and start spinning. You need to hold it down firmly. We are using a simple plastic 2-frame extractor. There are also larger extractors made of stainless steel that you can bolt to the ground. They are good for commercial operation, but in this instance the plastic one works well enough. After some good spinning, we can pull out the frames and check them to see if we have spun out the honey. Now let's uncap the other side of the frames and insert them into the extractor for spinning. When it's not bolted to the ground, it's good to have a few friends to help out with the spinning. Once both sides of each frame have been spun out, you can lift the honeycomb and find it very light without honey. The frames are now ready to put back into the hive for the bees to clean up and refill. They are called stickies. The honey in the extractor settles on the bottom of the tank, and we open out the release valve and let it strain out through a mesh strainer. We can see the sweet product of our labor. The last thing to do is to put the empty sticky frames back into the beehive for the bees to refill. It's a much more efficient way to do beekeeping, as the bees do not have to remake the honeycomb but rather refill the empty honeycomb cells, and also the honey is 100% pure. So that's it, guys. Thanks to everyone at Malaika Honey, Australian Honeybee, and of course Reverend Lorenzo Lorraine Langstroth.
Ndowooza lwannimisanta midde